Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. So welcome back everybody. Post Janmashtami, we are meeting again in this wonderful session, which is primarily based upon Hari Katha and Hari Kirtan. For pre-Janmashtami, we had discussed that we will change the timings of the sessions. So this is our new proposed timings. Hope this suits all of you. If it doesn't, then please get back to us. We'll try to see whatever is possible, whatever is not possible. And the title for today's session is Do I Need a Guide in My Life, Part 2. So let me share my screen. So hope you're able to see my screen. If you can see my screen properly and if you can hear me properly, can you please raise your hands and give me a confirmation? Okay, thank you very much. We'll do a short kirtan followed by the Mangala Charan, and then we will start today's discussion. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashacya Deshatarine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashacya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदनंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यामुना तीरवनचारी यशोदनंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यामुना तीरवनचारी हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। युग धर्म हरिनाम संकीर्तन यज्ञ की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। So welcome everybody. And like all the other sessions, this session is also dedicated to my spiritual grandfather, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, founder Acharya of the International Society of Krishna Consciousness. I would like to seek his blessings even before I begin today. Om Ajnanasya Mirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtham Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahim Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guruho Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschati Deshkarine Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langhayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Bande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Harihi Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna. So, let's do a quick revision. We saw in the previous session the various aspects of having a guide. Do I need a guide? We also saw the various attitudes. Am I ready to accept help from someone? What are the different kinds of guides? Actually, I would like to take some inputs from the devotees who are attending today. Can we do a quick revision? What we have, I know it's a long time. It's quite long. We discussed these points, but if any one of you have taken notes or if any of you remember, can you please raise your hand? I'll unmute you and then you can speak up. You can raise your hand technically, or you can physically also raise your hand. We'll unmute you, or you can also put it in the chat box. Tarun Malik, Prabhuji is raising his hand. You can unmute yourself now.
So in the last session,
the voice is not audible. Not audible.
Is it okay now, or is it still not audible? Not
Oh, sorry.
audible?
I'm connected to the earphones.
Yeah. Can you
Okay.
hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
Were you able to hear me all this while when I was doing the
Yes.
clip? Okay. I didn't realize my earphones were connected. Okay, go ahead.
So in the last session, we talked about the knowledge and how basically the symptoms of knowledge. First is if you can have self-control, and second, if you can have a good character. These are the two symptoms that you have knowledge. And after that, you mentioned about the other 6 symptoms of knowledge as given by His Grace Rup Goswami Prabhuji. And there, the first one was how to control the urge to speak. Second, how to control the mind. Third was how to control anger. And then the urge to eat. And then the urge to control the tongue and the belly. Yeah.
Thank you, Tarun Prabhuji. Somebody else? Some quick points, please, from others. Whatever you remember, whatever you would like to share. Anybody else? Any points? You can either put it in the chat box or else whatever you would like to share. Some quick points. Do we remember something about the various kinds of guides which are there? Do we remember something about the attitudes? Okay, no problem. Since it was a long time, let's quickly do a revision. I can understand, and we all tend to forget. So we saw what are the symptoms of knowledge. The symptoms of knowledge are sense control and good character. We saw the definition given by Chanakya Pandit. Seeing everybody else except my wife as my mother, and seeing others' property as garbage, treating everybody on this platform of spirit soul. Such a person is entitled to be called as a Pandit, and not anybody who wears a 2 paisa thread or who has some kind of a shikha in some attire. He's not a Pandit. This kind of personality is a Pandit. And another symptom of knowledge was the control on the 6 urges: the urge to speak, the mind, demands of the mind, the urges of the anger, and the tongue, belly, and genitals. One who has controlled such 6 urges, he is a man of knowledge, and he's entitled to walk all over the earth and make disciples. The Bhagavad-Gita says, the humble sages by the virtue of true knowledge see with equal vision a gentle Brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog eater. But we saw that this knowledge and intelligence is not sufficient in itself, because even a man of knowledge, if even one of the senses is roaming around on any sense object, then even a man who has some intelligence, some knowledge, can still be dragged away. And all of us agreed this happens to almost everybody every now and then. And Arjuna is also explaining or asking this problem from Krishna: what is that which forces me? One second. I have another meeting. I'm just updating what time I'll join there. Okay. So Krishna says that the cycle is this: meditation on sense objects, dhyayato vishyapumsam sangashteshu pajayate, sangat sanjayate kamat kamat krodho vijayate. When contemplating on sense objects, the senses of a person develop attachment for them, and from such attachment lust develops, and from lust anger arises. Would someone like to share why this anger comes? Okay, we understand I'm meditating on the sense object, the lust is coming. Lust means to desire to enjoy something unlawfully, something which is not mine. To enjoy that is called lust. It can be the opposite gender, it can be somebody else's property, it can be somebody else's money, whatever. But why from lust anger comes? Would someone like to explain why anger comes? Anybody would like to say that? Only Tarun Prabhu is speaking. What about others? Just try to explain how anger comes because of lust. Okay, Tarun Prabhu, you can speak up.
What happens is when the lust is there, that is basically the desire, strong desire is there. That is like हम लोग खुजली करते हैं, तो जितना खुजली करेंगे शुरू में तो थोड़ा सा ठीक लगेगा, पर फिर उसके बाद और खुजली करेंगे. तो उसी तरह से जो lust है, that is what happens, that the more we do, the more we get into the entanglement. The more desires we have, the more desires we keep on having, and because of that, it is a loop in which it will ask for more and more sense enjoyment, which ultimately will lead to definitely disappointment and thereby anger, and because of that we feel disillusioned.
Yes, correct. No matter how much you try to satisfy the lust, it will not be satiated. It will not be satisfied. So therefore, any sane man who's trying to satisfy his lusty desires, at some point of time or very quickly will start feeling angry. But I'm trying to devotedly serve these desires and these senses, these lifetime after lifetime I'm serving these senses, but they're not getting satisfied. What is this? So therefore that anger comes, whether you satisfy the lust or whether you don't satisfy the lust, the anger comes. So therefore the solution is to break the thought process at the level of meditation. Dhyayato vishayaha pumsa, vishayan pumsa. So when that meditation is happening, at that point only break the chain of thought, so that the lust doesn't come, because once the lust comes, the anger, memory loss, bewilderment, and then being ready to do any sinful activity, that cannot be stopped. So we have to break everything at the level of meditation, because once the meditation seeps in, it's very difficult to control. Now, one cannot say that my mind is not controlled. I really can't help what I think, what I don't think. I end up meditating on things. No, that kind of meditation Krishna is not talking here. Krishna is talking about that deliberate meditations. That yes, I know it is wrong, but now I have sat down to think about the neighbor's wife, or I have sat down to think how to murder my neighbor, or I have sat down to think how to steal that piece of land. I have sat down to think, like deliberately. Once in a while, if a thought comes, oh, I will kill him and I will take his land. No, such thought doesn't come. But just in case if this thought crosses the mind, we are Kali-yuga living entities. It's expected to happen. When we see a rich man, we feel, oh, I wish I could take away his car, or something like that. But that kind of meditation is not expected here, not being talked about. What is being talked about here? I sit and I knowingly and I intentionally plan and meditate on something evil. That is called meditation on sense objects. So that should not happen. We have to break it at that point. Immediately, we have to break that chain of thought. We have to engage in some other physical activity. I was giving examples of cleaning. I was giving example of helping others. I was giving example of chanting, doing kirtan, reading the books of Srila Prabhupada, and so on and so forth. I just hope and pray that all of you have the books of Srila Prabhupada. How many of you have the Bhagavad-Gita as it is? Can you please, Bhagavad-Gita as it is, how many of you have? Can you please raise your hand and confirm? Those who are not able to raise their hand, what should I assume? Is there a technical challenge, or to raise hand, or you don't have? Don't lower your hands. We are taking a count. We're just trying to see who all don't have. Yes, see, quite many people don't have. So it is our request that you please take a Bhagavad-Gita. There's no point attending Gita Made Easy course if you do not have the course book only. There's no point. So please take a Bhagavad-Gita, either by visiting their nearest ISKCON center, or else the messages which we are posting in the various groups. You reply to any one of the messages personally saying you need a Bhagavad-Gita with your name and address. We'll send you a link. You can purchase it there, and we'll send it to you by speed post. Okay, let's proceed. So even great people make mistakes. Even Arjuna, who was so qualified and a perfect, almost quite close to being a perfect human being, perfect mortal, even he felt that he needs a guide, or he needs basically to allow someone to guide him. Then what to speak of us? If Arjuna thought that he needs external help, then it gives a strong lesson to us that we should also be mature enough. Our attitude should be mature enough to take help from others. Many arrogant fools, they suffer the rest of their life by not taking help, because somehow it has been driven, this point has been driven into their mentality, that if you ask for help, the first point which is driven into them is that you have to be perfect. You can't be wrong. You can't be wrong, and you cannot be the best. Or you cannot afford not being the best, and you cannot afford being wrong. There's so much pressure. Even if someone doesn't know, they just sit tightly, not asking anything. Even if somebody is wrong, they hide it. So the cheating propensity comes in. That's why the students, they cheat in examinations. It's okay to be wrong, and it's okay to ask for help. This point should be understood very clearly. This attitude that I can never be wrong, I always have to be perfect, has killed the spirit of education. The Vedic society was not like this. Somehow the modern society has become like that. So therefore, most of the people feel, why do I need guide? I'm perfect. I have my newspaper, and I have my radio, and I have my internet. I don't need to guide. Newspaper, radio, and internet will guide me. Good luck. Such kind of a guide. So we saw Arjuna needed guidance, and Arjuna allowed Krishna to help him. Even intelligence is not sufficient, knowledge is not sufficient. And Krishna tells the process of knowledge: just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master, inquire from him submissively, and render service unto him. The self-realized souls can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. Bhagavad-Gita 4.34. This is the process of knowledge. Please take note that when Krishna personally descended on this planet also, in order to set a good example, he, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the spiritual master of all spiritual masters, even he went to one of the spiritual masters, Sandipani Muni, Jain. And he was, why was he doing it? He was the supreme. He was someone who defied the law of gravity and lifted a mountain on his tiny finger of his left hand. He could have easily defied this law of knowledge also, but he didn't choose to do that. He chose to do superhuman activities, but he chose to go and menially serve a spiritual master. He used to go to the wood, forest, collect woods, clean the ashram. Supreme Personality of Godhead. So many Lakshmis are serving him, goddesses of fortune. Lakshmi Sahastra Sata Sambhrama Sevya Manam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajam. The Brahma Samhita says that millions and billions of goddesses of fortune, they are simply trying to serve him with a lot of love and affection, not out of formality. But he's not attached to any one of them. But still they want to serve him. It is mentioned in the 3rd canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, I think the 15th chapter, which talks about the kingdom of God, that how in the spiritual kingdom, quite a lot of description is there, but I would like to specifically go to that section where various goddesses of fortune, they are simply trying to clean the marble walls and the dust and the floors of the various palaces in Vaikuntha. And the Bhagavatam remarks that there is no dust there, but still they are sweeping, just to get the merciful glance of Krishna. Such kind of personality, when he comes in this material world, in his self-same spiritual form, please take note, when Krishna comes, he doesn't assume a material body like you and me. If I ask someone, who were you in your previous life? Who can answer? Can anybody answer who they were in their previous lifetime? Cat or a dog or a bull or a demigod or a cat, or who you were? You can't answer. Why? Because you have changed your body. Therefore, change of body means forgetfulness. Please take it down. Change of body means forgetfulness. But when Arjuna asks to Krishna, when Krishna says, Imam vivasvate yogam proktavan aham avyayam, that I gave this knowledge to Sun, the presiding deity of Sun planet, Vivaswan, millions of years ago. Then Arjuna asks, Arjuna knows who is Krishna, but just for our clarification, Arjuna is asking, because he knows what kind of people will be there in Kali Yuga. He's asking that both you and me are contemporary. How can I understand that you gave this knowledge to the sun demigod millions of years ago? So at that time, Krishna says, both you and me, Arjuna, have had many, many lifetimes. The difference is that I remember all of them and you have forgotten all of them. Why? Because Arjuna is changing his body in every lifetime. But Krishna comes in the same spiritual body, Atma Mayaya, Sambhavami Atma Mayaya. By his internal potency, he descends as he is in his self-same spiritual form. He doesn't change his bodies. So therefore, he remembers everything. So the point to be noted here is that Supreme Personality of Godhead, when he descends in the spiritual world, who is the spiritual master of all spiritual masters, even he goes and serves the spiritual master. Meaning to say that he's telling that the process of knowledge is very strict. What is that process of knowledge? Just try to learn this truth by approaching a spiritual master. Now, spiritual master also comes in a chain of disciplic succession. No upstart can be a spiritual master. I woke up from my bed and I thought, which is the most famous book in the world? Oh, Bhagavad-Gita. So let me write some commentary on Bhagavad-Gita. That will be my claim to fame. And I'll become a guru. I'll become a chief belief officer of various companies. And whatever I want, I will speak in the name of Bhagavad-Gita. No, that is rascaldom. That is not Bhagavad-Gita. Sa evayam maya tedya yoga proktah puratanaha bhakto sime sakha cheti rahasyam hi etaduttam. Krishna says very clearly that if somebody wants to understand the Bhagavad-Gita, two qualifications. Bhakto sime sakha cheti rahasyam hi etaduttam. Only when somebody is a devotee of Krishna and they have a non-envious disposition towards Krishna, sakha cheti, friendly disposition towards Krishna. Because Arjuna was not envious of Krishna, and because Arjuna accepted Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, because he accepted that he is Bhagavan, then the knowledge was revealed to him. Those who will not accept these two facts, that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and those who will not have a favorable, friendly, service-based disposition towards Krishna, rahasyam hi etaduttamam. This will, even if they read the Bhagavad Gita 50,000 times, it will be a rahasya. It is not like some university education. You pick up a book and you don't attend the lectures and don't attend the sessions. You just read it and pass the exam. It will not work like that. So therefore, inquire from him submissively. That means you have to please that person and render service unto him. That means you have to let your false ego get crushed. The self-realized souls, when they will see, oh yes, this boy, this man, this person is serving me very, very nicely. He's going out of his way to serve me, assist me in my mission. When they get pleased from the core of their heart by their pleasure, the knowledge flows from their heart to your heart, or to our heart. The self-realized souls can impart the knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. They are Tattvadarshi, Jnaninas Tattvadarshinaha. Spiritual master means one who comes in a chain of bona fide disciplic succession. No upstart can be a spiritual master. And they must have, because they have seen the truth, they can give you the truth. It's a heart-to-heart transfer. Then we saw what are the different kinds of gurus. Free advice gurus, their idea is like, they're not concerned about us. They're not even interested to check whether what the advice which they are giving us is actually helping us. They want to say because they just want to say. The colleagues, the passerbys, the thelawalas, friends, they're all free advice gurus. Then the exploiting gurus. Best example is the lawyers and the doctors these days. They are in a position of a guru because anybody who goes to a doctor, they are thinking my cough and cold will be cured. My so many other problems will be cured. But nothing is happening. And one is going simply session after session again and again. The doctor is taking so much money. Exploitation is going on. And the other kind of guru is the real guru. Our well-wisher, compassionate, not exploitative, and selfless. We saw the symptoms of a guru or a sadhu. Titikshavah, karunikaha, suhridaha, sarvadehinam, ajat shatravaha, shantaha, sadhava, sadhu bhushan. The symptoms of sadhu are that he is tolerant, merciful, friendly to all living entities. He has no enemies, he is peaceful, and he abides by scriptures. And all his characteristics are sublime. I will take this opportunity to highlight this point. All points are important, but especially this point. He abides by the scriptures. There are some swindlers in the society who are very famous on so-called social media. They will say that I have not read any scriptures. Why should I read any scriptures and block my mind? Mind is like a parachute which works when it is open. So why do you want to block it with some scriptures? Just be open. Don't read anything. Try to explore. Explore, experience, and learn. I'm sorry I'm speaking very harshly, but this is another kind of rascaldom. What is your authority if you are not speaking based on scriptures? In the Mother of Life sessions, I was explaining that our senses, faculty of senses, they are all imperfect, under illusion, prone to commit mistakes, and therefore they have a tendency to cheat. They have these 4 defects. When the apparatus itself has 4 defects, you cannot come to a particular ultimate truthful conclusion using these apparatuses. Therefore, one cannot depend on Shabda, Anuman Praman, guesswork, and extrapolation. One cannot depend on Pratyaksha Praman, show me God. You cannot say like that because you don't have the eyes to see God. The only thing which we can depend upon is Shabda Praman, that is the Shruti, Smriti, Puranas, Vedas, etc. And if somebody is so arrogant enough to say that what is the need to read scriptures, that means he cannot be a guru. Because he abides by the scriptures. That is the nature of a guru. And guru has to come in parampara. Evam parampara praptam imam rajarshayo viduhu sakale neha mahata yoga nashta paramtapa. The supreme science was thus revealed through a chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings understood it in that way. But in course of time, the succession was broken, and therefore the science appears to be lost. And whenever this science appears to be lost, Krishna personally revives this. Now there are again some less intelligent, unfortunate, dull people who say, what is the, I could just take guidance from some upstart. There are so many upstarts on the social media these days. If you go and ask them, who's your guru? They'll say, oh, some 5,000 years ago, some Baba, some yogi was there in Himalayas. I never met him, I never served him, but I consider him to be my guru. No. This is received through a chain of disciplic succession. Guru speaks to the disciple then becomes guru, he speaks to his disciple, and everything goes on unadulterated. So, there is a very nice In those who have the Bhagavad-Gita, they will know this point. I will quickly like to open it and show it to you. I will share my screen once again. What do you mean by Guru Parampara? So that's my screen. I will go to a website called vedabase.io. This is the website which I will request all of you to refer for reading all books of Srila Prabhupada. Here there is the Bhagavad Gita as it is. I will go to the introduction, quite a long introduction. But towards the end of the introduction, just see. This is called as Guru Shishya Parampara. Evam Parampara Praptam Imam Rajarshayo Viduhu. The Bhagavad Gita as it is received through the disciplic succession. So ISKCON comes in Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. The founder Acharya of ISKCON is Lord Brahma. So Brahma got it from Krishna. Krishna gave it to Brahma. Brahma gave it to Narada. Narada gave it to Vyasa. Vyasa gave it to Madhva. Like that, you see there are some names, unbroken list of Acharyas. Their names are written here. And these are all glorious personalities. Finally, it comes to Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya is non-different from Krishna himself, which I will cover in the next session. And then you see, what is the 32nd name? A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. So this is called as Guru Shishya Parampara. And all these Acharyas, they have presented what Krishna presented to Brahma and what Brahma told to Narad, Narad told to Vyas. Everything is being presented unadulterated. That is why it is called as Bhagavad-Gita as it is. So that is why I keep saying again and again, please take as it is, as it is, as it is. Because everywhere else, so much interpretation and so much I think, I feel, I believe, the spirit of Bhagavad-Gita is being murdered in various so-called Bhagavad-Gitas, which is being distributed here and there in the airports and in the other places. I can name some 15, 16 Bhagavad-Gitas, which are, even when I read one page also, I feel like throwing it away in the air. And that Bhagavad-Gita is a disgust in the name of Bhagavad-Gita. There are various such Bhagavad-Gitas. Even great, big personalities who don't know the basics of Bhagavad-Gita, they are writing commentaries of Bhagavad-Gita and passing in the name of scholars, get PhDs. So they're all basically contaminating the Bhagavad-Gita, and it is because of such people that people are slowly become atheists. People are slowly turning into the philosophy of I am God, you are God. We have just forgotten that we are God, and if we try enough, we can become God. I'm sorry to say this is another form of rascaldom. And this is caused havoc in the spiritual atmosphere of this world, in the spiritual culture of this world. Okay, I'll again share my screen and continue. Today, I have dedicated today's entire session to only speak about a sadhu or a person. That is Srila Prabhupada. We saw some definitions: character, sense control, control of six urges, Chanakya's definitions, Bhagavad Gita's definition of Pandita, Samadarshina, Evam Parampara Praptam, and Tadavidhi Pranipate. And I just try to approach a spiritual master and learn the truth from him, submissively render service to him. And then they will reveal the signs of Krishna consciousness to us. So all those definitions of knowledge we saw. Now let's try to see how all of them perfectly manifest in its fullest capacity in the life and teachings of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Very recently, the Prime Minister of this country, Narendra Modi, also, I think on 1st of September, he gave a short talk commemorating the 125th anniversary of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, where at least for 20-25 minutes, he was speaking about the life and teachings of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada and the contributions which he has made. So let's try to hear a little bit more from this presentation here. So Prabhupada was not an ordinary personality. When he was young, his name was Abhay Charan. And right from young, you see this small boy. This is a pictorial demonstration, basically. When he was just 5 years old, he told his father, I want to worship Radha and Krishna, Jagannath. So his father, whose name is Gaur Mohan De, he bought him some deities. And when he was a small child, he used to take out Rath Yatra processions like this. And everybody used to come and participate, and all the children used to have a nice time. And this is the youth or the childhood of Srila Prabhupada. By the way, Srila Prabhupada has been predicted in various scriptures, which I will reveal slowly in the time to come. In the various Puranas, he has been mentioned, the activities which he will do. I would like to tell you one conversation between Lord Krishna and Mother Ganga. When Krishna's pastimes were approaching towards the end, and he was just before the Maushala Leela, the pastime where the Yadavas, they disappear. Mother Ganges, she approaches Lord Krishna in Dwarka and she says that, now, when you are not there in the planet will lose all its glory, and the moment you leave this planet, Kali Yuga will begin. And I don't want to stay in Kali Yuga. Because the people's sins will increase and I'll not be able to handle it. Saraswati, the river Saraswati, has already decided to disappear. I also don't want to stay. So Lord Krishna told, don't worry, you stay. But then she asked, how will I handle the sinful reactions of the people? And then Lord Krishna said, don't worry. In this Kali Yuga is a little special. In the course of time, I will explain to you the time scale of various planetary systems and various. So, one Kali Yuga lasts for 432,000 years. If that is X, then the Dwapar Yuga lasts 2X. 8,68,000 years, like that. 64,000 years. 432, so double of that. Similarly, Treta Yuga lasts for 3X and Satyuga lasts for 4X. So some 43 lakh years is one Divya Yuga, or one combination of 4 yugas. Now 1,000 such Divya Yugas or 4 yuga cycles are there in one day of Brahma. So like this, Brahma in his 12 hours, he's seeing, you can just imagine the lifespan of Brahma. So he is seeing 1,000 Divya Yoga cycles. In the 28th Divya Yoga cycle, Lord Krishna comes. So we can just imagine how fortunate we are. Just 5,000, we are in the 28th Divya Yoga cycle. Lord Krishna personally comes. In no other Divya Yoga, you will see this threefold bended form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Some other form from Vaikuntha will descend, but Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the source of all incarnations, the avatari, he doesn't descend. So we are so fortunate. And followed by that is only in this Kali Yuga, Lord Krishna again descended in the form of his own devotee called as Lord Chaitanya, about which I'm going to speak elaborately in the next session. And Lord Chaitanya, the Lord Krishna told to Mother Ganges that don't worry, I will come in my same spiritual form. But slowly in the course of Kali Yuga, Lord Krishna said, I will send my Nama Upasak. That means the worshipper of my holy name. And he will travel to the foreign lands and he will preach this message of Krishna consciousness to everybody. And when he will return back to this Bharat Khanda, along with his foreign-bodied disciples, and when he along with his foreign-bodied disciples will come and have bath in you, Simply by the touch of their lotus feet, you will get purified. So therefore you stay here. That was what Lord Krishna told. And there are many other references. So Prabhupada has been predicted in the scriptures. He's not an ordinary personality. When a living entity is specifically empowered by the Lord to do something, he's a very, very empowered personality. And you'll see that in the course of this presentation. So in the year 1922, he met his spiritual master. This person whom you see on your right of the screen is young Abhay Charan De. And he is, on the left is His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who is the spiritual master of Prabhupada. So Prabhupada, as a young married man in 1922, at that time, Srila Prabhupada had joined the freedom movement. His friend took him to Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. At that point of time, Srila Prabhupada, as soon as Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur saw him and his friend, he told that you people are young men, you are educated. Why don't you preach the message of Krishna consciousness all around the world in the English language? Now, it is not that Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati didn't know English. He was the most profound scholar. But he was basically wanting young people to take up this process. So at that time, Srila Prabhupada, young Abhay Charan De, he argued with Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur that our country is what can I say, is being dominated by Britishers at this point of time. Who will hear to this message of Krishna consciousness? Who will hear to this message of Lord Chaitanya? First, we have to get freedom. And then we should try to do something. So at that time, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he defeated Prabhupada in the argument, saying that governments are temporary. Governments, politics, social and political scenarios will keep changing forever. Do you think that if you get your so-called independence, the people of this country will become happy? No. The real jail is birth, disease, old age, and death. The real servitude is happening to lust, greed, anger, illusion, enviousness, and attachments. Governments will come and go, situations will come and change, but Krishna consciousness or the preaching of Krishna consciousness cannot stop. The government cannot change someone's destiny. The government cannot change someone's karma. But Krishna and Krishna consciousness can. The governments cannot make someone happy, but Krishna can. So therefore, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, in an elaborate discussion with him, he defeated Prabhupada, saying that there is no scarcity in this world and one should not be baffled by the ever-changing political situations. The only scarcity is that people are not God conscious. And Krishna consciousness and the preaching of Krishna consciousness is such an emergency that it cannot wait for anything. It is an emergency. And Krishna consciousness should be preached without any delay. So Srila Prabhupada remarks in his lectures once that I was very happy to be defeated by my Guru Maharaj. Immediately at that moment only in his heart, he accepted His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur as his spiritual master. Although formerly he was not very much meeting with him, but Prabhupada remarks in his lectures that always in my heart I was thinking that the message of Lord Chaitanya, the message of Lord Krishna is in safe hands. And always in his heart he was thinking that I have met a very nice, genuine, spiritual, holy man, spiritual master. At this point of time, Prabhupada had almost lost his faith in various spiritual teachers because they were all speaking Mayavad, and there was so much difference, so much gap between their walk and their talk. They used to say something. Somebody used to go on the stage, recite Bhagavatam, cry and cry in front of public. And immediately after coming out of the talk, they used to hide in some room and drink cigarette or eat or drink something. So he had lost faith. But when he went and met Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he understood that here is a bona fide spiritual master to whom I should surrender my life. But circumstances were not very favorable. He was a married man. However, for 10 years, wherever Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur came to give lectures, now Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was a lion preacher. He was such a strong as a preacher that when the Mayavadis or when these atheists or so many isms, communism, socialism, all these people, when they used to see him, they used to run away. But he'll convince us that Krishna consciousness is the only purpose of life. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was so powerful as a preacher that when he used to travel in the train, everybody used to come to know that he's in the train, and every station, the train used to stop for half an hour. Some 400, 500 people would be there. He would get down at that station. The station master will come, the train guard and driver will come, and half an hour class will happen, and then the train will continue. Now, that was the caliber. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Prabhupada describes that he was a ray of Vishnu. He was a Vaikuntha man. And in 1932, Prabhupada took initiation from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. However, after some time, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur passed away. But just before passing away, Srila Prabhupada wrote a letter to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur that I am a businessman and I am also a grihastha. Being a grihastha, being a businessman, I have not been able to contribute much to your mission. However, I have a desire to do some service to you. He is writing in a letter. Prabhupada is writing in a letter that please tell me, my dear Guru Maharaj, what I should do. So, as soon as Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur got this letter, he replied the same thing which he had told some 20 years ago, that you please preach the message of Krishna consciousness in the English language. This will do good to yourself and also to the people in general, because I'm confident that you have understood the mood and mission of Lord Chaitanya. This was the reply which he gave. So at that time, Prabhupada understood that, yes, this is the mission of my life. I heard it 20 years ago, and it is not just a coincidence that immediately after writing that letter, just 1 month or so, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur left his body. So that was the last conversation. Prabhupada met his spiritual master hardly 5 or 6 times. But he understood what his spiritual master wanted him to do. If someone can make the mood and mission of their spiritual master as their goal in life, then he or that person who has made the mood and mission of his spiritual master his goal in life, heart and soul, he is seeing Krishna all the time. That is the greatness of this personality. So Prabhupada made this as his mood and mission, that I have to spread Krishna consciousness in this way, in the way my Guru Maharaj has ordered me to do. So therefore, with great struggle in 1944, single-handedly, India was not yet independent, but Srila Prabhupada started a magazine called as Back to Godhead. I don't have the very clear picture of it. You see, here is Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's photo, and here Prabhupada is writing, where there is Godhead, there is no nescience. Godhead is light, nescience is darkness. Where there is Godhead, there is no nescience. Single-handedly, he was editing, publishing, printing. He also went to various places to distribute this. He sent some copies to the various foreign libraries. Everything he tried. Back to Godhead. In the course of time, he took sannyas. Srila Prabhupada says that his spiritual master would come in his dreams and he would tell him that you please take to the renounced order of life. Otherwise, how can you dedicate yourself to this mission? Of course, there are various other reasons also why Prabhupada took sannyas, which is a different subject matter. But yes, Srila Prabhupada he had this desire from the last 35 years of his life as a grihastha, that he wants to dedicate himself full time. Actually, Vedic society means what, that for the first 25 years, you learn very nicely from a spiritual master. And then If you want to get married, you get married. That is called grihasthashram. But grihasthashram doesn't mean that till the last day of my life, I will remain in my house. I'm holding the hands of my granddaughters, grandchildren, sons and daughters, and passing stool and urine in the bed and crying, save me, save me. That is actually, according to the Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad-Gita and the Vedic civilization, this is considered to be abominable. As soon as when the sons and the other children are grown up, a grihastha, after 25 years of married life, should hand over those things to the children, and then they should try to cut off their connection with the society and the family. And if the wife is cooperative, the wife and the husband both should go and spend the next 25 years. That's called as vanaprastha. Not like I want to stay in the house which I have built till the last day of my life and nobody is listening to me. People are cursing me ki buddha marta bhi nahi hai. That is not Vedic society. So in those days when Srila Prabhupada was there, this culture was still prevalent. So at the age of 55, he took sannyas, which was the general norm. And also he had a desire. Also various other incidents happened around this. Of course, Krishna was personally interfering in his life. Srila Prabhupada was a very big business magnate. And but Krishna made some arrangements through which he was forced to give up his business. And then he was writing some manuscripts of Bhagavad-Gita. One day he came to his home and he found that the manuscript is missing. He asked his wife, where is the manuscript? His wife told, I sold it to buy some biscuits for my tea. Years of work of Prabhupada, and wife sold it for some tea biscuits. So Prabhupada he asked his wife, what do you want, tea or me? Of course, jokingly only, the wife said, I want tea. But Prabhupada took this as a sign from Krishna. This is the time when you should move on and take higher roles. So he just left after that. Of course, he had so many sons to take care of his business and everything. Like he didn't leave anybody. There was so much, he had left behind so much. That's what I have to say. So he took sannyas, and then he retired in Vrindavan and he started publishing the first canto, he started translating the Srimad Bhagavatam, which has 18,000 verses, single-handedly. He used to go from Vrindavan, he used to go to Chippiwada Lane in Delhi. He used to purchase papers, go to the binders, printers, get it printed, edit it. Man, everything he was doing, an old man. And then once he got a chance to present it to Lal Bahadur Shastri. And when Lal Bahadur Shastri saw this work of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, he ordered all the government libraries to immediately purchase now and the future, now published volume, and the future volumes which will be published by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. So Lal Bahadur Shastri recognized the spiritual genius of Srila Prabhupada. And he also helped him to publish the later volumes. But ultimately, after publishing 2 volumes, Srila Prabhupada tells that his spiritual master revealed to him that time for him to go to the West has arrived. So at the age of 70 years, when people suffer from various diseases and want to retire and sit safely, he, after a lot of convincing, got a free passage in a ship called as Jaladuta. You can see Jaladuta is written here. So on 13th August 1965, Jaladuta Yatra, prophetic journey to USA. So this yatra lasted for around 37-38 days. Srila Prabhupada got 2 heart attacks on the ship. And he comments in a room conversation that he was very much afraid that if the 3rd heart attack will come, he will not survive. But because he was simply dependent on Krishna, Krishna saved him. Krishna saved him. The people who were there on the ship, they were remarking that in our whole journey of sea travel. We have never seen the ocean so calm. The captain of the ship was commenting that in my whole journey, I have never seen the Pacific Ocean so calm, as if it was a river, not an ocean. Because Krishna took charge and he wanted to give all comfort to his devotee and not let the third heart attack happen. He went to the USA and Srila Prabhupada, he just carried 40 rupees with him. When we go to a foreign land, what do? We don't take so much money with us. We already call someone, I'm coming, be ready to receive me. Where is my booking? Where I will stay? Everything will be in line, sorted out. But Srila Prabhupada didn't know anybody. He had no one to depend upon. And he had only 40 rupees and few volumes of his Srimad Bhagavatam. Srila Prabhupada sold some of the volumes of Srimad Bhagavatam to the ship, captain of the ship, and he got some Lakshmi. And with that, he landed on the Boston Harbor. Srila Prabhupada comments that when he landed there, he didn't know whether to go left or whether to go right. And he said that the 40 rupees which he had were an expenditure of few hours in New York. At that time, 5 rupees was $1. So basically, he had $8 with him. So he says that this was an expenditure of few hours, a city like New York. And he didn't know whether to go left or whether to go right. Can you imagine? Those days were not the days of internet or television. Here is a 70-year-old man who was comfortable in his life in Vrindavan, who had already realized Krishna, who had already secured his journey back home, back to God. Even if he would have simply remained in Vrindavan, did his own japa, he would have got spiritual emancipation. There was no need for him to come out. In fact, when he was coming, various Babajis in Vrindavan would come and argue with him that Maharaj, why Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, why do you want to go? Just stay here. This is the land of Krishna. Why do you want to leave it? People want to die in Vrindavan. You old man, at the age of 70, you'll go there. It is so cold. You don't know anyone, what you will eat. You're simply going to die there. These Babajis used to come and convince him like this. But he was fully convinced that if I am not able to fulfill the mission of my spiritual master, then my life is useless. Vyavasayatmika buddhi eke ho kuranandana. One has to be fixed up in spiritual life, fixed up on the mood and mission of the spiritual master. So Srila Prabhupada took that very, very seriously. And then when he landed there is a book called as Prabhupada Leelamrit, where all the disciples of Prabhupada later on wrote the struggles which he went through. He somehow, unlike all the swamis and yogis who moved to the uptown and stay in the house of riches, Prabhupada went to stay in a place called as the Bowery. Bowery is a place where all these hippies, drunks, drug addicts would live. Many times his typewriter with which he was typing the manuscript of Bhagavad-Gita. So first manuscript of Bhagavad-Gita was sold by the wife. Second manuscript of Bhagavad-Gita which he made, somebody got into his room, stole the typewriter, stole the manuscript. So the present Bhagavad-Gita which we all read is the third attempt of an old man to help us through our ignorance. And he continued his struggle. He didn't know how he'll be able to pay the rent. Like, it's unspeakable struggles which he went through. And then one day he decided that let me chant the holy names loudly, publicly. So he went to a park in 1966. That park has become very famous now. It's called as the Tompkins Square Park. And the government of America also recognizes it. The tree under which Prabhupada is standing and giving this first talk is named as Hare Krishna tree. And Hare Krishna tree, Tompkins Square Park. Full dedication is there. So he went there and he started chanting Hare Krishna. You can see the photo here. That's the photo. And simply he sat and started chanting, and various people just, because someone who carries Krishna is all attractive. And someone who carries Krishna in his heart is also all attractive. Everybody got attracted to this old helpless man. They just came down and sat. And then he gave a lecture. And when he went from there, everybody followed him. Now, who are the people who are coming? They are all hippies, drug addicts, runaways. But that was the counterculture time. Those who are a little bit elderly here in the session, they would know that this 1960s was the time of counterculture. Counterculture means the culture was don't trust anybody who is above 30. That is the mantra of counterculture. Now, in that counterculture, in a crazy land, hippies are there. Right in the middle, Prabhupada walks in, a 70-year-old man, and everybody's listening to him. Everybody's following what he's saying. Needless to say, the troubles he went through. There were many times crazy hippies who would attack him in their frenzy of drug overdose and etc. He went through so many struggles, unspeakable struggles. But then he firmly established the Krishna consciousness. He started giving lectures on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and people started coming in. He established a small storefront. That storefront is still retained by ISKCON despite all costs. It's called as the Massless Gifts storefront, 26 2nd Avenue. And finally, in 1966, he founded something called as International Society for Krishna Consciousness. The lawyer who was helping him in founding this society, he said, why don't you say God consciousness? Why do you say Krishna consciousness? But Prabhupada was very clear that Krishna is God. God means Krishna. I want to be very clear. I don't want to be the others like the other Swamis and yogis who are coming here to give a watered down message. God means Krishna. So he retained the title despite all advice, International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And even when the society was very young, had only 5-6 people in it, he framed, you can just see his broad-mindedness and his far-sightedness and vision. He framed the 7 purposes of ISKCON. Homework, you can type out 7 purposes of ISKCON and read it. That was framed in the inception days of ISKCON, and Prabhupada never altered it because he knew what he was doing. It's not like over a period of time, ISKCON has become a little mature, more number of people have joined, so our demands and our functionalities have expanded, so I will change the purpose. No, the purpose remained the same, which was there on day one. That means he knew what he was doing. And then the rest is history. He introduced India to the whole world. He established beautiful temples and deities. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Lord Chaitanya says, Chaitanya Bhagavad, sorry, Prithvi Jatoate Nagaradigram Sarvatra Prachara Hoive Matana. Lord Chaitanya, who is Krishna himself, he says that as many towns and villages are there on this planet, everywhere the Hare Krishna Mahamantra will be sung and my names will be chanted. Earlier, the Vaishnava society used to think that when Lord Chaitanya said this, just like when Jesus Christ said, thou shalt not kill. So a huge section of the Christian society thinks, basically Jesus Christ meant that don't kill the human beings, but slaughter the cows and the animals. And they discount Jesus Christ of that intelligence. When he says, thou shalt not kill, they don't take it in the absolute way. So similarly, some of the less faithful Vaishnavas used to think when Lord Chaitanya said, Sarvatra Prachara Hoive Amar, Prithvi Cheto Ache Nagaradiga, they used to take the definition of Prithvi as Bengal. So they used to say Lord Chaitanya meant only Bengal, Orissa, or maybe India. But Prabhupada had full faith in the words of Lord Chaitanya. When he said Prithvi Cheto Ache Nagaradiga, so Prabhupada took that and he spread it. Now you go to any place on this planet, still we have not reached all the towns and villages, but the prediction is there. Lord Krishna and Lord Chaitanya has told that in every town and village of this planet, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra will be sung. And one can cross-reference this in various other scriptures. Even in other sampradayas, this prediction is there. That very soon a time will come where anywhere and everywhere you go, Hare Krishna Mahamantra will be sung. So various such predictions are there. So he introduced India to the whole world. Once he was in London, and the journalists, they questioned him that, why have you come here? He said very sweetingly, Prabhupada was a genius. With a huge wit and a charismatic smile, he said that the British colonial rule, they robbed from India everything which was valuable. They forgot the most valuable thing, that is the Srimad Bhagavatam. I have come here to give Srimad Bhagavatam to everybody. Once in Melbourne, another reporter asked him, why have you come here? So Srila Prabhupada told that, I have come here to tell you what you have forgotten. I have come here to save you from the life of cats and dogs. So he was an old man, saintly transcendental personality, and he was very direct, and he used to speak like a lion. And somehow he used to get away with it also, but we should not try that, because he was a genuine person. He can do anything. He established various gurukuls. You see this picture. Children from various backgrounds are offering obeisances to Srila Prabhupada. You go to the Samadhi of Srila Prabhupada in Mayapur or in Vrindavan and just stand there like this for 5 minutes and do one job of counting how many number of people came in only 5 minutes and offered obeisances to Prabhupada. The number will be more than 500 or 1,000. All you MBAs, doctors, engineers, lawyers, magistrates who are sitting here in this session, forget about what will happen when you die. Even when you are alive, do you think 500 to 1,000 people every day will come and offer obeisances to you? Maybe they'll come and throw stones at your house and go, but nobody will offer obeisances. You'll come to realize that we are simply puffed up. But Prabhupada is a person who made everybody understand the message of Bhagavad-Gita universally. When Krishna says, Sarva yoneshu kaunteya aham bija pradapita, that I am the seed-giving father of all species of life. Krishna is not a Hindu god or an Indian god. He says, of all 84 lakh species of life, I am the seed-giving father. One who says Krishna is a Hindu god or an Indian god has never read the Bhagavad-Gita. And Prabhupada was teaching this to whom? Not to Indians, but to the people of the West, the hippies who were drug addicts. Good luck. If anybody wants to try that at the age of 70, go and try to preach to the hippies. So Prabhupada did this miracle. Why? Because he was presenting Krishna as he is. He didn't alter anything. Once somebody told that, what is your credit? You are simply repeating what the previous acharyas have told. You did not add anything on your own. So Prabhupada said, yes, that is my credit. That very specific thing that I have simply tried to repeat what I have heard from my spiritual masters is my credit. That is the greatest thing which I can do. And therefore my movement is successful. Prabhupada, in a very thunderous way, he revolted back to that rebellious Indian only who was challenging him. Spiritual life means faithfully repeat what you have heard from your spiritual master with your own realizations, of course, based on time, place, and circumstance. So who could have ever imagined that people in different parts of the world would accept this Vedic culture, perform the marriages and the samskaras? Who could have ever imagined? Who could have ever imagined that young people would go out and distribute the books of Srila Prabhupada and dedicate their whole life to Srila Prabhupada? Prabhupada never used to give salary to his disciples. He never gave money to anybody. It is said that Prabhupada as an acharya was so attractive. Not that he was physically very beautiful or his voice was very good. He was an old man with so much cough and mucus in his throat, and he would be coughing all the time, had a heavy Indian old man accent. But still people were serving him. Without that, too, young people were serving. And these were all young, educated graduates from various prestigious universities. It is unbelievable. Why? Because Srila Prabhupada carried the compassion of Krishna in his heart. Once he was there on this Times Square and he saw people rushing everywhere, here and there, cars rushing. So he asked, what is going on? And their disciples said that these people are running to work. They are simply going there, this place, that place. When Srila Prabhupada saw that, he was in tears. He was saying, such a waste of human form of life. Shrama eva hi kevalam, a cat and dog life, not knowing the purpose. He was compassion personified. That's all I have to say. He empowered the women also. Srila Prabhupada's ISKCON temples are the only places where even the women can be pujaris. So a powerful acharya can make some alterations based on time, place, and circumstance. And Prabhupada says that because he made this adjustment, his movement became successful. All the other people who tried to go and preach, great, big Swamis went, they have their photos everywhere, but they could not make even one person a devotee. But here is a personality who laid down the rules like purity is the force, preaching is the essence, books are the basis, and utility is the principle. He laid down these principles and the whole world was following him. And all throughout, he remembered the instructions of his spiritual master. This is the photo which I want to worship. Srila Prabhupada, his bones are visible. He's in the last phases of his life in Vrindavan. Until the last breath, he translated the books. Why? Because his spiritual master, in one of his meetings when he was a Grihastha, his spiritual master had ordered him that whenever you get money, print books. The order was given that whenever you get money, print books. So till the last stage of his life, he simply kept translating the Srimad Bhagavatam and ordered his disciples to print it and distribute it all over the world. This is called being a sadhu. We cannot imagine the struggles which Srila Prabhupada has taken to print these books or to translate these books. Every day at 8:30 p.m. he would retire to take rest and wake up again at 11 p.m. And from 11 p.m. till morning 4 a.m. when the whole world was sleeping and his own disciples would be sleeping, this old transcendental saintly person would be translating the books. And then it's not like after 4 a.m. he would hit the bed. No, he would go and attend Mangalarti and then he would have breakfast and then he would continue. Whole day, disciples would come with their problems, so many issues. It was a growing society. It's not an easy to run an international society. And finally, hardly 2 hours, in some of his personal secretaries remarked that for around 6 months or so, Srila Prabhupada didn't sleep only. He did this so that we can make good use of his books. We can read them, we can chant Hare Krishna, and we can go back home, back to Godhead. That is the purpose of Srila Prabhupada's life. So I would now like to summarize the contributions of Srila Prabhupada in brief. He wrote more than 80 volumes of books, traveled the globe 14 times in 12 years. So that means he traveled all around the world, preaching, guiding his disciples, and every night he was awake. And in 12 years, he produced 80 volumes of transcendental literature in line with the previous acharyas. Now, please take note of this point. In 12 years, he established 108 temples all around the world, gurukuls and farm communities. Initiated more than 5,000 disciples and did all this in the advanced age between 70 and 82. Now, if somebody told you the story, you will not believe it. You ask any businessman, in 12 years, from 40 rupees to 400 million rupees. Is it possible? It is not possible. When your own body is not working, how will you do it? You are an old man. This shows that it was personally guided. Srila Prabhupada often said that I am not writing these books. Whenever I sit to write these books, Krishna comes personally, sits next to me and tells me what to write. Sometimes Srila Prabhupada said that Krishna has taken birth again in the form of this Krishna consciousness movement. Like this, many. Once he told, my books will become the law books for the human society for the next 10,000 years. These kind of prophetic statements Srila Prabhupada has made. If somebody told you this story, you will not believe it. It is only our misfortune that the youth of this country, the people of this country, they do not know about Srila Prabhupada. It is our job to make him famous all over the world, all over the universe. And simply if we catch on to his dhoti, if we catch on to his, simply if we become his follower, he will take us home back to God. Because Srila Prabhupada has built a house in which the whole world can live. That is called being an acharya. That is called the true exponent of God. So that is what I wanted to present in today's session. I wanted to introduce all of you to Srila Prabhupada so that you know that yes, saints do exist. Saintly people are the hope for the society. Now there are some various places, glorification of Srila Prabhupada is there. I would like to end today's session with the practical tip of the day. Please try to have the copy of Bhagavad-Gita as it is with you and how you should read the Bhagavad-Gita. Krishna's name is non-different from Krishna. Krishna's deity is non-different from Krishna. Krishna's katha is non-different from Krishna. And Krishna's words are non-different from Krishna. So if you worship Krishna, you should worship the Bhagavad-Gita also. Don't just read from Bhagavad-Gita like a novel, but think that Krishna is speaking to you. In fact, I would like to make a change here. Think that Prabhupada is speaking to you and read the Bhagavad-Gita in that way. Okay? So, I will hope and I will pray that all of you will read the Bhagavad-Gita every day, at least half an hour or 15-20 minutes. And I would like to again emphasize Kriti Adhyayato Vishnu Traitayam Yajito Makhaihi Dvapare Paricharyayam Kalau Tadhari Kirtana. Whatever result was obtained in Satyuga by meditating on Lord Vishnu, in Treta Yuga by performing sacrifices, and in Dwapar Yuga by serving the Lord's lotus feet, can be obtained in Kali Yuga simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So I hope and I pray that all of you will chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra every day. Why? Because in all the Vedas it is seen that to cross this ocean of nescience, there is no alternative to chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Homework for today is to learn the verse number 4.34. Please take it down. 4.34. Tadavidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninam tattvadarshina. This verse is, the theme of this verse is process of getting knowledge. I will request all of you to have a copy of Bhagavad Gita as it is with all of you for your personal self. Try to read more about Prabhupada. Prabhupada is best represented in his books. So that means try to read more and more of Srila Prabhupada's books, at least 15 minutes to half an hour every day. Chant minimum 2 to 4 rounds of Hare Krishna Mahamantra every day. Try to follow the 4 regulative principles. That is no meat eating, no gambling, no illicit sex, and no intoxication. And finally, be regular to these sessions. That will help all of us in going more closer to Prabhupada, in going more closer to Lord Krishna. In English, not in English, it's a common thing. Arjuna is told by Lord Krishna in Padma Puran. Krishna tells to Arjuna that, my dear Arjuna, those who are my devotees, they are actually not my devotees. But those who are the devotees of my devotees, they are actually my devotees. So the aim of our life is not to directly surrender to Krishna. Krishna says, Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja. But I am a rascal. How can I surrender to Krishna? I have come in this world just to gratify my senses and I have rebelled against the Lord. I have broken and cut off that relationship, and I have crossed that bridge, come in this material world, and I've burned the bridges. It's not easy. But Krishna is so merciful. The ocean of mercy, Krishna has sent his cloud-like representatives who carry that mercy water from the spiritual world to the material world in the form of acharyas like Srila Prabhupada. A devotee of Krishna is more merciful than Krishna. Please note it down. A devotee of Krishna is more merciful than Krishna. So we have to take shelter of the devotees of Krishna. Why? Because a devotee of Krishna is actually the devotee of Krishna. So let's, we have given our so many lifetimes to so many things. Let's give one life to Krishna. Let's give one life to Prabhupada. Anyways, all of us who are there in this session have had millions and millions of lives. It's very clear. Let's try to see what happens if we give one life to Krishna, one life to Prabhupada, by associating with the devotees, by reading the books of Srila Prabhupada like Bhagavad-Gita and Bhagavatam regularly, by regularly chanting fixed number of rounds of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and by having a Krishna conscious diet and following the 4 regulative principles. Let's try to do this and see what happens. I can guarantee you that if anybody does this sincerely, if they surrender to Krishna through Prabhupada, then this will be their last life. They will never take birth again, never grow old again, never fall sick again, and they will never be harassed with the pangs of death again. They will go back home, back to Godhead, and eternally they will stay blissful, full of knowledge with Krishna, performing and taking part in his pastimes. So with this, I would like to close today's discussion. If there are any questions or comments, they are welcome. If there are no questions and comments, then we will meet again next week, Saturday, same time. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram.